Hi everyone, so this is the before look and this is the after look, which is what we're going to call a bit of a lob, which is a longer bob. So if you want to see how I actually created this look, then obviously watch the full video and have a go yourself. So I washed the client's hair, and then I'm just going to section it into sections so it's a little bit easier for me to cut. The client's hair was previously a long bob, so it has outgrown. So I have got a guideline to follow. But obviously, if her hair was extremely long and she wanted to go this short, you would just have to take more hair off to start off with. Now, my client's neck, hairline on the neck is really, really low. So it's a factor that you do need to consider before actually cutting the client's hair. Because if I take the guideline shorter than the actual hairline, then you'll find that you'll need to do a lot of neck shaving. So the client might not actually want that. So if we have a quick look at the hairline, we can see that it is kind of longer on the right and on the left, but it's quite short in the middle. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a slight U-bend going in there. So it's a little bit shorter in the middle, gradually getting longer left and right. And the head is tilted forwards to minimise the graduation. And then just checking both points just to make sure that it is even. Bring down your next section. You can clearly see the guideline through that section of hair, and just using my finger, I am just pushing the hair so it's nice and tight, so I get a really good 0 degree angle, so the hair is being cut on the skin and not with my finger put behind it. Just gives a little bit of a closer haircut. And then just check your points again. Make sure that they are the same. Move up a layer. Bringing down the next section. And just making sure that you can see your guideline through the section that you have brought down, because everyone's hair is slightly different in thickness, so you just want to make sure that you can see the guideline. So yet again, having my finger put in place, checking that the client's head is still tilted forward. Often as they speak, they tend to look up at you, so you have to keep reminding yourself to put it down. Now I do put my fingers behind there just because there's no skin really to lean on, because it's right behind the ear. So I put my fingers behind on the left and right and just double check your points. Go back in and adjust it if it's slightly different. And then move up a layer. So I'm keeping this all kind of one length at the back. Last little bits to come off now. It's not a difficult haircut, this, but you do need to make sure that it is even. I think that's the hardest thing, is making it the same on the left and right, because the angle at the front can be quite steep. So I'm just taking it that little bit shorter now in the middle. Especially because the head is tilted downwards. When they tend to lift up, you might find that it's pretty straight actually. You might have intended to put a nice curve in there, but there's not much of a curve once they lift their head. So I'm just getting rid of any graduation that I can see. and checking the balance. So once we've done the back, we're going to move on to the sides. I always start on the left-hand side as a personal preference for me. And I've got my guideline at the back that I'm just going to check. Now, we did have quite a steep angle on our previous haircut, but I'm not going to take it as steep now. So we're just going to not level it up, but it's still going to have a little bit of longer at the front, shorter at the back kind of look, but not as drastic as before. And I'm just double checking there's no little bits that I've missed. Now the hardest thing now is obviously matching it up on the opposite side. So tilting the head away, checking your back angle, and then slightly moving forward. And it is kind of like a guesstimate now. You've just got to think, oh, how much did I do on the left-hand side? Maybe I'll just make it a bit longer on the right-hand side so I can always check the balance and go back in and cut a little bit more off if needed. So the balance must be checked. Go back in if need to. And obviously once it's dry, I would always go back in at the end as well, just to make sure that it is 100% accurate before they go. Now I'm not putting any, major layers in. I'm just going to check that there's no overhang really on there. So a little bit of a point cut just going through the centre, but not actually enough to make a difference to create a layer in there. And the client has a fringe at the front, which is a little bit different. She does like a blunt fringe, so there's no real point cutting in. She doesn't like it feathery. And it is quite a heavy fringe because her hair is quite fine at the front. So she wants it to appear a little bit thicker at the front. So we keep it blunt. In the middle, I tend to take it shorter than on the left and the right hand side. So it's kind of like, it's pretty similar to what we did to start off at the back on the neck. So it's shorter in the middle, gradually going down left and right. So keeping the fingers as close to the head as possible and just angling it down left and right. And what we do on one side, we kind of copy and do on the other side as well. Fringes, try not to make them too perfect when they're wet, because when you dry, you want to go back in and double check it. Especially if the clients have any thicker areas or cow slick or anything going on at the front, possibly something to consider as well. And knowing as well, once the hair is dry, it does kind of raise up a little bit, so you don't want to take too much off. But my client wants to see her eyebrows, so it is going to be a little bit shorter than maybe some people might like, but each their own. I love a short fringe. The shorter the better for me. So the haircut is practically done now. just checking the points, and then we're going to go back in and get ready to blow dry. But you can see it is shorter at the back, slightly longer at the front, but with very minimal layer and texture going on. It's quite a blunt haircut, this, so it's all club cutting. So the product that I'm going to use today is one of my favourite products. We have got the Perfect Setting from Wella there. It gives a very gentle hold, but it's got a lovely smell, and the clients often like the smell as well. So spray that on. Using the hairdryer, you're going to rough dry until it's about 70% dry, so that you can start your sectioning and your blow drying. So I'm just going to section the hair now. I tend to start off at the back. I've dried the fringe off a little bit more than what you would normally do. And I'm going to try and give it a bit of root lift so that we can actually see the angle of the haircut that we've just done. So just using a round brush, I'm going to go through the hair, lifting it, rolling it and drying it as we go round. You can see how low her hairline is there as well. Previously, when the client did come in, she did actually have a root tint done. So this is a colour and cut. I didn't film the root tint because I filmed a couple already today, so I didn't feel like I needed a third. So going up a section, lifting it up as high as what we can, trying to get that root lift, and then blow drying it as we go round the head. So you can enjoy carrying on watching my blow drying. So just coming up to the end of the blow dry now. Just blasting it off, just making sure there's no little bits that I've missed. The product that I like to use at the end, I think I just put in a little bit of Olaplex number 6. Just to smooth it down. But before I did that, I'm just going to go in and double check my haircut. I could go in and straighten this again if I wanted to, but the client didn't want it straightened. No need to straighten straight hair sometimes. So I'm just going to double check and trim the areas. As the client does have a low hairline, I just like to take off the tips of the neck hair using a clipper with no guard on whatsoever, and just trying to get a nice finish on my client's hair. So if I lift up the hair, then you can just gradually see. I'm just going to take away the underneath. You do that both sides. And I'll do the same on the other side as well, just making sure that the neck is free from any loose hair. And just trying to make the guideline that little bit sharper with the clippers. Check the balance as well. Go in, check the fringe, check absolutely everything. Just making sure that you're happy with it. Just a few point cuttings through there, just to help it blend a little bit more. And it's all done now, so I'll just show you the finished look at the end. So it's a nice lob, shall we say, a little bit longer than a bob, with some colours going through it and a fringe.